My task is very simple to ensure the program goes as smooth as it can be. But before that, I would like each of us to be upstanding for the national anthem. The East African anthem.
Mungu twaomba unilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Uzalendo pia mshikamano viwe msingi wa umoja wetu, na tulinde uhuru na amani, mila zetu na desturi zetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Viwandani na hata mashambani, tufanye kazi sote kwa makini, tujitoe kwa hali na mali, tuijenge jumuiya bora. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you very much. You may take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, just before we get into the proceedings, the second session of this very, very important conference, I just want to introduce a group that were formed 27 years ago. They have performed in South Korea, in Asia, in most parts of Europe, and of course, Africa. They are the resident Safari Cats. Let's just put our hands together and welcome Safari Cats. Where is Safari Cats? The Safari Cats, where are you? Is there anyone blocking them? Where are you? Oh, there they are. Karibuni, karibuni sana, Safari Cats. They'll do several acts. There are not only three, there are several, but of course you shall see more.
Daddy,
A round of applause, another round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, lest we forget, this is the first international conference on agroecology. I can see very, very bubbly faces. Do not worry. There is more. There will be more. But of course not today. Tomorrow there is going to be a gala dinner, and you're going to have more of what you've just witnessed. As I told you earlier, those are safari cats aged between 18 and 27. They have performed all over this world. You can mention all the continents. Once again, a round of applause for them. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last decade, genetically modified crops, the herbicides, pesticides they engineered to tolerate, have been at the core of food and agriculture conversations. The debate about the risks that are associated with synthetic pesticides and fertilizers and GMOs has been raging. Concerns, as you all would appreciate, have been voiced about possible impacts on human and environmental health. Nonetheless, proponents of GM crops argue that they are needed to enhance worldwide food production. Now, ladies and gentlemen, why is this? I just want to share with you some statistics, and therefore to just bring home why this debate will not start and end today, but it's a debate, it's a conversation that will definitely continue. Of course, in the morning, you could see, you could hear, why this particular topic is really, really important. Now, take note, the world population has exceeded 7 billion people. Now, it is forecasted to reach beyond 11 billion by 2100. And these are not my statistics, but these statistics are according to the United Nations 2017. Now, the reason why this debate again will continue is because the provision of an adequate food supply for this booming population is an ongoing and tremendous challenge. And of course, here in Kenya, we are currently waiting. Of course, at some point, I was having a chat with Dr. Mokaya, the moderator. Where is Daktari? Dr. Mokaya? Oh, yes. And I asked him a question, and he just told me no. But next month, Kenya, we are going to know whether GMOs will be allowed. And this follows a ban that was imposed more than 7 years ago, citing danger to public health. Now, I will not get into the nitty-gritties of that, but that is just to set a context. Ladies and gentlemen, for the next session, I would like to call the following gentlemen and ladies. And just by the way, I just want to acknowledge the presence of the representative of the chief guests, Honorable Mwangi Kiunjuri, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. He is not here in person, but he is ably represented by Madame Lucy Njenga, who is the Director, Policy Research and Regulation, State Department for Crop Development, Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. Now you have to acknowledge the full title. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome on stage the following gentlemen and ladies. I'd want to start with Daktari David Amudavi, the Executive Director of BioVision Africa Trust. Pigiani makofi akija. Now for those who do not understand that, it's just exactly that, what you've done, clapping. I would also want to welcome on stage Madame Louise Liticol, the Executive Director, IFAM Organics International. Welcome on stage, Madame. I would also want to take this opportunity and welcome Mr. Zachary Makanya, the CEO, Pelham International. Zachary, karibu sana. I would also want to welcome Madame Lucy Njenga, the Director, Policy Research and Regulation at the Ministry representing the CES. Kindly join us on stage too. Karibu sana, Madam. And so because I have the discretion, unlike Mokaya, I'll be very strict. Unlike yourself, I'd want to give each of the gentlemen and the lady only 2 minutes. Only 2 minutes, of course, with the exception of the chief guests. But again, also for the hosts, I'll be a bit, I'll bend the rules a bit. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. David Amudabi to please come and make your remarks. Karibu sana, Daktari.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mudibo. Ladies and gentlemen, the representative of our Minister for Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Irrigation, the farmers, our partners, and all the guests that have come. For me, today is a happy day. It's a day that is bringing together 3 conferences. One conference was already being planned quite early in 2018 to be a first conference, actually congress, on pesticide contamination, on environment, animal and human health. And that was a conference that was being organized by World Food Preservation Center. There was also another conference expected to be held by IFAM Organics International, following a very important project in East Africa, that is organic trade and value chain development. And BioVision Africa Trust, with other partners here in this country, were in the process of organizing another conference that is scaling up agroecology initiative. And in February this year, while in Germany, attending the BioFAC World Trade Fair, word came around, you guys, you seem to be 3 groups. But by then I must say 2 groups had already come together. Why not have a common conference? So today is a day that has brought together 3 important organizations with their partners to have a very serious conversation on how we can look into the potential of agroecology to help us transform our agriculture and our food systems, not only in Africa, but also to be an example for the rest of the world. So I'm delighted to be here as having been one of the people and most organizations. BioVision Africa Trust has been quite instrumental, working very closely with IFAM Organics, Work International, and also very closely with Dr. Charles Wilson, a very, very powerful man, and unfortunately, he did not manage to be with us today. So we are very proud. We have all the best brains that have come across the globe. I don't know yet the statistics in terms of how many countries are represented, but we shall share in the course of this conference. But I must admit that almost all the continents are represented here. Let's have a round of applause to all of us. To me, this is a truly international conference. And I would say by the time it ends, it will be the beginning of another journey on shaping the direction we would like to see. How we can work against the myth, the doubts, and all those who think that the God-given foundation of nourishing ourselves and our planet cannot work. Agroecology is the foundation, based on science, based on what people do, and based on what we believe in terms of our convictions. So once again, thank you very much. Look forward to a very rich moment, interactions, and I believe by the time we leave this conference, we shall have all interacted sufficiently enough, established networks that will go beyond this meeting. Thank you very much, and have a very productive conference.
Thank you, Daktari. Of course, Daktari mentioned a gentleman known as Charles Wilson. Would want to at least listen to what Charles had to say, at least to make his contribution in this particular conference. Do you have his video? You can play. Do you have the video? Okay, just 3 seconds and we can listen to Charles. And watch, of course.
Wilson, founder of the World Food Preservation Center. Good morning. I'm Charles Wilson, founder of the World Food Preservation Center, one of the organizations that has organized this conference. Unfortunately, I can't be here today, but I'm here in spirit. In this room are the world's leading authorities on the impact of synthetic pesticides on the African people, their animals, and environment. Also, world leaders on agroecology as an alternative to chemical agriculture. One of the missions of this conference is to chart a course forward to substantially and sustainably reduce synthetic pesticide use in Africa. It is exciting to know that the intellectual resources are here in this room to successfully fulfill the mission of this Congress. I wish you Godspeed on this journey. Good morning. I'm Charles Wilson, founder of the World Food Preservation Center, one of the organizations that...
I guess it was that brief. A round of applause for Dr. Charles Wilson. Of course, as we've heard, he could not be here in person for reasons that he's mentioned, but he's here with us in spirit, and you've heard what he had to say, as brief as he was. Once again, that was Dr. Charles Wilson, the president of the Wild Food Preservation Center. I would now want to take this opportunity and welcome Zachary Makanya to please come and make your remarks. Karibu sana, Zachary.
The representative of the guest of honor, all protocols observed. I will give a few opening remarks. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Zachary Makanya. I'm the country coordinator for PERAM Kenya. PERAM is a network of NGOs. We have over 300 NGOs in 12 African countries: Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Ethiopia. We also in Zambia, Malawi, and Zimbabwe, South Africa, Lesotho, Botswana, and Swaziland. We are reaching over 10 million farmers. So when we talk about farmers here, we understand about farmers' issues. Now, we also have a pavilion outside. Please interact with the people there, because we even have some members like Koan, like Baoji. They are coming here to show what they are doing. So take time and visit those pavilions. Now, I want to talk about the power of reflection. You know, when God created the world, every time we used to look back and say, this is good. Now, I want to ask yourself a question. We know that there are very many people here, even if I say how many people have degrees in agriculture, there are very many. In fact, every university offers degrees in agriculture, You can go to, there are people with masters, there are people with PhDs, diplomas, and certificates. Now, the question I want to ask is, and this is what I want us to reflect on, why are farmers poor? Why are farmers poor? We have all these people around, this knowledge around, we have institutes of agriculture, we have research institutions. Why are farmers around? I mean, why are they poor? Are we shooting and then aiming, or are we aiming at the shooting? You know, there's a difference. You can shoot, then aim. You can aim, and then shoot. Let us do some reflection about this. There's also a saying, which says that if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Are we digging? Are we in a hole? First of all, we have to understand, why is it that farmers are poor and becoming poorer and poorer? Because that is what is coming out there. But one thing I want to tell you, this conference is about showing case. Like when you see the exhibitions which are being brought here, then you can see there's a hope for smallholder farmers, because you can see we have very products handed there, we have organic products there, and I think it is good that really you try to learn from this. So this is something that this workshop is supposed to give you hope. To give you hope that there's a future for these farmers. Now, I want to end by saying this. This world requires critical people, critical mass of people who are changed, who are doing things differently. Because unless we change, the world is coming to an end. I'm talking, of course, I'm a Christian, but I'm also saying, when you look at the issue about climate change, the way now the rains are unpredictable, the drought, all this is coming, it means that things are not well. So we have to change the way things are doing, the way we have been doing things, so that we change our paradigm. And for me, my call here is, please be part of first of all, be changed. Because if you are not changed, if you continue digging, of course, if you continue digging, it's like you are burying yourself. But I want to encourage everybody that we should stop digging. Let us do reflections and find out what is it that you are doing that is not right. Then you correct that one, and then you say, what is it that you have been doing that is right? Then you keep that one up. Otherwise, thank you very much. For me, this workshop should be an eye-opener for all of us here, so that we learn from each other. And that's why we promote networking. Because we think that networking, you learn from others, the best practices. You learn from others, in which way they have failed, so that you don't fail. You learn from others. Now, I know there are some farmers here. For me, the biggest impact this workshop can have is to give hope for that smallholder farmer there, so that they can go with a smile, they can go with a hope. And for you, the last thing, I want to sit down, Mr. MC. Try to interrogate issues and come up with an action plan, and that action plan, when you do it, it will help change the farmers in the world. Thank you very much.
The passion. You could see the passion. Yeah? And of course, you understand why. Now, just before I call the next speaker, just want to find out if Dr. Manuel Fleury is around. Is Dr. Manuel Fleury around? Okay, so Dr. Manuel Fleury is not around, just like Dr. Charles Wilson will be able to play a video. But just before that, just hold on, just before that, I would like to ask the following speaker to please come to the podium. But before that, let me just introduce them. The next speaker is Executive Director of IFRAM Organics International. She has extensive experience in organic agriculture, fair trade, development cooperation at a strategic, management, and regulatory level. Now, just up to there, you can see which side of the argument the next speaker falls. But ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Madame Louis Littihold. Karibu sana.
Good day, everybody. I'm really pleased to see you here, so welcome to all of you. Welcome to all distinguished delegates, also representatives of the ministries. I think it's very important that we're here together. So we heard already from our partners that some come here with a perspective of the damage that pesticides do to us, to our environment. Some also come here to show that there's an alternative to that, and we call it agroecology. We are very pleased that this alternative is being carried by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN with their principles. And some are here also from the perspective that farmers need a livelihood. So when they do the right thing, that there's a market for them. And I'm very pleased that IFARM Organics International can be here, especially in this conference, to actually showcase what we've did in the project Organic Trade for Eastern Africa. Now, organics is not only about trade, but it's really important to give some perspective, as Zachariah rightfully said, to give some perspective to farmers to show that there is a market for them. And only then we can reach a transformation, because that's what we're here for. I also want to really emphasize the word transformation, which is in the title of this conference. We're much talking about pesticides and maybe how we can replace them. But to me, that's not transformation. If we think about transformation, we need to do things entirely different. So we're not looking on how to replace one synthetic pesticide with a biological pesticides. We're looking at our entire food production system and take a systemic approach. And I am very pleased also that our friends from BioVision are here who actually work in this way to really systemically change the way we look and we do agriculture. And I think that's important. And when we talk about transformation, we talk about our own minds. Transformation starts with each and every one themselves and how we look at how we want to produce food, how we want to relate to each other, and how we want to interrelate with the earth on which we're all dependent. And I also want to put this conference in a bigger context that we're all familiar with, and that are the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm quite sure that you're familiar with them. This morning they were quoted by Peter as well. And I think they give us an important perspective on why we do this actually. And if we look at the 70 goals of the Sustainable Development Goals, there are many ways to go about them. Again, we can look at them goal by goal and see how we can address them. We can also try to find a systemic approach to address them. And here, agroecological and organic agriculture is actually one of the main tools, if you like, to hit many of those goals at the same time. And that's exactly what it is, a systemic approach to improve livelihoods, to fight hunger, to deal with climate change, to care for our environment. All these biodiversity, all these things are captured in organic agriculture. So that's the bigger context in which this conference takes place. I'm really pleased to see that there is so many expertise in this room as well. So I think that gives us an opportunity to really move forward and to make the next steps. Not only here in East Africa, but I think we should know that this idea of agroecology and organic is something that is coming up and being brought forward all over the world. So also know that we are part here of a bigger conversation that is going out there. This is taking place in India, where whole states are being turned to organic or agroecology. This is taking place in a context of municipalities that all turn green. We are talking about complete provinces in some parts of Europe. We are talking about government canteens in some part of Europe where you can only eat organic food. So be aware that you're part of a bigger thing. And I think that's also something we can learn from others. And that's actually why we are also pleased to be part of this as IFARM Organics International, because we bring all these experiences together. So with that said, I would really like to thank our partners in this conference, the host. I know that there has been many work done before and behind the scenes. Thank you, BioVision. Thank you also, the World Food Preservation Center. We're very happy to be there and wish you all a very good conference.
Thank you very much. The next speaker, we will have to just watch a video. I hope the gentleman behind, that should be for Karen Lexon, the Secretary General, Swedish Society for Nature Conservation.
Dear conference participants, greetings from Sweden. I'm Karen Lexon and I'm the Secretary General of the Swedish Society of Nature Conservation. And we are one of the sponsors of the first International Agroecology Conference in Kenya. Agroecology is becoming a global movement. We are very proud to be part of this powerful shift in agriculture, together with our partners in Eastern Africa, in Kenya, the Biodivision Africa Trust and the Pilum Network, the Institute of Sustainable Development in Ethiopia and the Pilum Network in Uganda. We are also, together with many other partners and donors in Africa, part of the African Union effort known as Ecological Organic Agriculture Initiative, which is agroecology and sustainable agriculture to be rolled out to the African continent. Agroecology gives us ecological production systems. Its innovations and practices diversify farming landscapes and results in increased biodiversity. The benefits for farmers are many. Low-cost techniques, easy to multiply, resulting in higher yields, improved health, and increased food security, to mention just a few. The farmers will be able to get an income and produce for the growing demand of ecological products in the African market. With agroecology, the farmers get means to manage climate change effects, but also a possibility to be part of the solution, reducing climate change in the future, establishing carbon sinks, and strengthening and improving ecosystems, resulting in more ecosystem services. Investing in agroecology and the agriculture sector are key to reduce poverty and to end hunger. More than 800 million people are, as we all know, chronically undernourished today, and 98% of them live in low-income countries. Agroecology contributes not only to SDG 2, Zero Hunger, but to 10 of 17 of the SDGs in the Agenda 2030. One important step now is to overcome gender inequalities and empowering women in youth, which will result in powerful social and economic impacts for the farming family, as well as becoming an economic driving force for the agricultural sector. According to FAO, if female farmers access the same resources as men, for example, access to land to farm, the number of people living in chronic hunger would decrease by 150 million. Now, I turn directly to all of you who are politicians and decision makers. Every country involved in the agroecology movement benefits from inclusion of ecological agriculture in national plans and policy documents for long-term sustainability. The scale-up of agroecology needs strong support from you. So, we need everyone to be part of the solution for the future. We hope that the conference will bring politicians and decision makers together with farmers and scientists to discuss next step to take. I wish you good luck and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, before the next speaker, I would like to call the following on stage. Andreas Schreiber, the CEO, Biodivision Foundation and Chairman of BVAT Board of Trustees, and also Justus Mwalolo, National General Secretary, Kenya Small Scale Farmers Forum. Are those two persons here? Okay, kindly, you can come on stage. You'll, of course, have 2 minutes to give, kindly. You'll have 2 minutes, just like the rest. But last but not least, I just want us to have one more video. Dr. Manuel Flary, the co-head Global Program Food Security, Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. Do you have that video? You have? Kindly.
The Chief Guest, Excellencies, distinguished representatives of the African Union, ladies and gentlemen and dear friends, good morning. It's a big pleasure for me to be with you today for a few moments to share some thoughts with you. Switzerland welcomes this first international conference on agroecology transforming agriculture and food systems in Africa. I am particularly pleased that the two groups have joined efforts to host one conference. Following the FAO and many international experts and organizations, we perceive agroecology as paving the way to sustainable and healthy food systems. And in particular, agroecology addresses the way on how to move away from problematic synthetic pesticides and fertilizers in agriculture and food systems. We are all aware the global food system is dysfunctional. Poverty, hunger, and malnutrition are prevailing. Environmentally critical conventional production methods generate substantial costs for degraded soils, overused water resources, and lost agrobiodiversity. Agri-trade and subsidization regimes favor import of subsidized goods rather than promoting local production. Nutrition-deficient junk food is cheap, while whole grain, healthy or even organic products demand an extra price. This system is not healthy and we know it. Children suffering from stunting are at a high risk of mortality. Overweight and obesity increase the risk of non-communicable diseases. Environmental and health costs have to be borne by the society. They are not factored in the costs of food. Saying this, it is obvious that we need a transformative change for sustainable and equitable food and agricultural systems in Africa and worldwide. Just over 1 year back, the Director General of the FAO made an urgent call for transformation, as there is consensus on the urgency to get out of the trap of conventional high-resource input systems with increasing productivity at any social and ecological cost, still not leading out of hunger for over 800 million people. From him is need to redirect and proceed pathways towards sustainable food systems, and agroecology leads this way. We are convinced that agroecology, by building synergies, can support food production and food security and nutrition while restoring the ecosystem, services and biodiversity. Agroecology can play an important role in building resilience and adapting to climate change. The 10 elements the FAO has formulated are guiding the way. SDC and the Swiss government are decided to help reduce global risks in the field of sustainable agriculture, food security and nutrition. SDC promotes initiatives and influences institutions of more sustainable, resource-efficient and agroecological agriculture to reduce the environmental impact and to sustainably use agrobiodiversity. Inter alia, SDC focuses on initiatives and solutions to reduce the ecological footprint of agriculture and food systems, and supports the conservation and sustainable use of agrobiodiversity, in particular smallholder farmers' access to local and quality seeds. It is therefore obvious for us to partner with the Pan-African Ecological Organic Agricultural Movement that is under the auspices of the Africa Union. We are very pleased to see the increased visibility of the Ecologic Organic Agriculture Initiative on the political level, not least by noting the intended integration of an EOAI index indicator into the future CADEP biannual reporting for 2022 onwards. The conference looks at three most relevant aspects: reducing synthetic fertilizers and pesticides, launching the FAO Scaling Up Agroecology Initiative in Eastern Africa, and showcasing opportunities and potential of ecological organic domestic and regional trade in East Africa. We are looking forward to hear from the conference about particular and specific actions on how to strengthen the knowledge base of agroecology, anchor agriculture and food systems on agroecology principles and practices, and catalyze appropriate policies and investments. We hope that with the support of national governments of the region, as well as with the intergovernmental bodies such as the East African Community EAC and the Africa Union, the various partners' transformation towards a sustainable food system that benefits all citizens can be achieved with a speed we normally only know from Kenyan runners, and as Ronex Kipruto has shown magnificently just some days back in Stockholm. With the African Union Ecological Organic Agriculture Initiative, we all have the mandate from the heads of states and governments to pursue the way towards safe and nutritious food for all, and thereby helping to eradicate poverty. I wish to sincerely thank the government and people of Kenya, the conference organizers and partners, and in particular BioVision Africa Trust for making this conference possible, to make it a great experience and a big success. Thank you very much and enjoy this very important conference and days. Thank you. The chief guest, Excellencies, distinguished representatives of the Africa Union, ladies and gentlemen and dear friends.
Can we have the mic? Okay, thank you very much. Now, in the interest of time, I just want to give the next two gentlemen, again, strictly, very strictly, 2 minutes to just come say a word before I hand over to the moderator. I would like to start with Andrea, kindly. No, you can come.
Yes, thank you very much. I think so much has been said and laid out that we don't have to talk about the problems, why we're here, and we hopefully move now on to what the solutions ahead of us could be. I'm with my good dear friend David Amudawi, who said this is a happy day for him. It started very happy for me. In the morning we had to find people we didn't know up to now. That was easy task. And I met people from Burundi, from Senegal, from Zimbabwe, from South Africa. So it's really a Pan-African or even an international crowd here. And that makes me really optimistic for these 3 days, because we want to lay out solutions, and we don't have final solutions, of course. We are discussing, we're having a dialogue, and this is what is needed, urgently needed. And for those, the younger among us, who don't follow the discussions for 30 years or 40 years, don't take it for granted. We come a long way, and I think we have a long way ahead. But this moment, we can feel transformation is really very close, and we have to grasp it. And then one thing which was not yet mentioned is what unites all of us, the students, the farmers, the decision makers, executives, NGO or government, men, women. We are all consumers. All of us, we depend on the farmer's work, and all of us, we are from time to time going to a shop, buying something like food for us or for our children. And we have to think very hard what we as a consumer would like to eat tomorrow, and what do we like our children have to eat tomorrow. And then I think we all are interested in new solutions, because the state as we are in at the moment, no doubt we have to change something. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bona Justus Mololo, kindly.
Thank you very much. I will not go thanking a lot, but I'll concentrate on one line there: reducing synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. I belong to Kenya Small-Scale Farmers Forum, a grassroots village-based network of small-scale farmers. And we are part of a similar large regional network for all countries of East, Central, and Southern Africa. And that line is very critical and important for us, because agroecology, to us, is what we do, and it's what we have been doing. When I used to talk to my grandfather in our village, whatever backward genealogy told me, people have been around there for over 400 years. And when we look back, we find that agroecology to us, small-scale farmers, is farming the way of God. Nothing synthetic there. All natural. And if you come to the villages, you find that today we have been attacked. There's a lot of bombardment with those who want to push synthetics. And I heard that our friend, when we was introducing that Kenya, we are going, in the next 1 month, we are going to know whether we will be going GE. And I wish to say that Kenya, we are there. East Africa, we are there. Africa, we are there. Last week, we had another meeting here on a subject known as CADIP, and that is so African, and we were talking about agriculture. And everybody was talking about almost the same language that everybody is talking about here: small-scale farmers. Because if you look in our continent, I would say over 75% is small-scale farmers. And others are small-scale farmers directly or indirectly. And proudly, everybody is interested in small-scale farming, because all the food consumed, say, in our continent is produced by small-scale farmers. Then we have a reason to be concerned about what small-scale farmers are doing. And then small-scale farmers happen to have no time for that, because they are busy concentrating on their farms, on production. And recently we entered into another subject that has been brought by FAO, family farming, which is also on the heads of small-scale farmers. So it is very important to address what small-scale farmers are doing, because they will keep on producing the food we eat, and we need to look at that food from the food security point of it and food safety. So as I leave, my request is that please concentrate on making it possible that small-scale farmers continue farming in the ways that will give us safe food. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bwana Mololo, pushing the case for the small farmers in regards to this ongoing debate. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached at the apex of this official opening. And of course, the CS Ministry of Agriculture was meant to be here, but for reasons that we shall be told by his representative, he was not able to make it. But I'd just like to take this opportunity and just invite what I believe as his able representative, Madam Lucy Njenga, the Director, Policy Research and Regulation, State Department for Crop Development, Ministry of Agriculture. Karibu sana, Madam, to give your speech.
Before I read the speech of the Cabinet Secretary, allow me to convey the greetings from Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Irrigation, and the whole top management. They know the conference is here, but because of the many tasks which are there, they couldn't make it. Therefore, now allow me to read the speech. Thank you. The representative of African Union Commissioner, the representative of Food and Agriculture Organization, the county coordinator Pelham Zachary Maganya, executive director IFOM Madam Ruiz, executive director BFAT Mr. David Abdafi, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to join you today during this event of the first international conference on agroecology, transforming agriculture and food systems in Africa. I wish to thank the organizers of this conference, the World Food Preservation Center, Biofusion Africa Trust, and IFOM Organics International with their partners who have taken part in organizing this very successful event. We are pleased to be joined by Professor Hans, Professor Tyrone, Professor Judy Kaman, Professor Misheka, who has been my lecturer over 30 years ago, and many distinguished delegates from national government, county governments, academia, researchers, farmers and farmer organizations, extensionists and practitioners, civil society and non-governmental organizations, private sector, consumer associations, strategic partners and donor agencies, development partners, institutional and individual donors. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of the conference, Reducing Synthetic Pesticides and Fertilizers by Scaling Up Agroecology and Promoting Ecological Organic Trade, is in line with Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030, Kenya Vision 2030, the draft agriculture policy, which is before cabinet, Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture Strategy 2017-2026, agriculture sector transformation and growth strategy that emphasizes sustainable production and soil management practices that will ensure that future generations of Kenyans can continue to benefit from agriculture. Ladies and gentlemen, I am informed that this conference purposes to facilitate the establishment of truly sustainable food and agriculture systems in Africa, and also launching the Food and Agriculture Organization Scaling Up of Agroecology Initiative in East Africa. The event aims at 1, reducing synthetic pesticides and fertilizers, which include raising awareness through data and information sharing, document the impact of synthetic pesticides and fertilizer contamination on human, animal, and environment, and identify, disseminate appropriate and effective technologies to reduce synthetic pesticides and fertilizer contamination in Africa continent. 2, launching the FAO Scaling Up Agroecology Initiative in Eastern Africa, which include provide opportunity for sharing concepts and framework for implementing and analyzing impact of agroecological-based systems to provide a platform for sharing successful processes and cases. And that showing cases, opportunities, and potential of ecological, organic, domestic, and regional trade in East Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, many African countries are agricultural-based, and a large percentage of their population is dependent on subsistence agriculture. In Kenya, for instance, agriculture is the mainstay of the economy. The sector contributes about 33% of the total gross domestic product, and millions of Kenyans depend on agriculture for income and food security. Kenya Vision 2030 identifies agriculture as one of the key drivers towards achieving 10% economic growth rate. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the main functions of the government is to define and implement necessary policies and regulatory frameworks. And to this end, the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Irrigation has drafted an agricultural policy in accordance to the Kenya Constitution 2010, which provides for 2 levels of government. And the ministry has also formulated the agricultural sector transformation and growth strategy, which prioritize 3 anchors to drive the 10-year transformation with specific target set for the first 5 years. 1, increasing small-scale farmer incomes And secondly, increasing agricultural output and value addition. And third, increasing household food resilience. The strategy is aligned with the medium-term national agriculture sector priorities and medium-term investment plan, the draft agricultural policy, the 100% food and nutrition security aspiration in the Big Four agenda as pronounced by our president, as well as the longer-term commitments of the Cardiff and Malabo Declaration, the UN SDGs, and the AU Agenda 2063. Ladies and gentlemen, the draft agriculture policy highlights agroecology as an approach to farming that centers on food production that makes the best use of nature's goods and services while not damaging the resources. The key objective is to uphold good agricultural practices and enhance resilience to advance climate change impact. It has provided policy statement for both national and county governments to promote agroecology farming practices for crops, livestock, and fisheries. Ladies and gentlemen, as we advocate for strategies that focus on transforming the food systems, let us take cognizance of the policy and regulation requirements that respective governments have put in place to ensure food and nutrition security. As much as we strive to entirely carry out organic farming, let us also be aware of the fact that the potential of many African countries with regard to food production has not been fully exploited. The question of balance between the use of organic and inorganic methods should be critically analyzed in order to come up with working solutions that are viable and of unique needs that needs to characterize countries in Africa. Let us continually develop solutions that go hand in hand with the desired need of the countries we work in, and this will ensure sustainability rather than creating a dependence syndrome that escalates the status quo of poverty and food nutrition insecurity. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish once again to thank the organizers of this conference for bringing this event to Kenya. And to all delegates, I thank you all for finding time to attend this conference and urge you to use the opportunity to share experience, learn new technologies and innovations, ensure active participation, and make networks. I wish you a wonderful stay in Kenya. Remember to spare a day or two after the meeting to visit our national parks and beautiful beaches, and also sample the rich cultural and national heritage of the country during your stay here. Thank you, and God bless us all.
Just another round of applause to Madame Lucy Njenga. Thank you. I can see the energy levels have gone down, so Daktari, I know the next session is meant to be yours, but I seek your indulgence, ladies and gentlemen. We will have to do some bit of iteration, but before then, I just want to welcome the next gentleman who is supposed to give the keynote remarks, and then of course we can break for lunch. There was meant to be plenary session 2, but because I have seen the energy levels have gone down, then therefore we'll have to proceed for lunch after listening to these gentlemen. Is that okay? Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Dr. Hans Rudolf Herren, President of Millennium Institute, which is based in Washington, D.C., but also the President of BioVision Foundation, based in Zurich, Switzerland, to please come and give the keynote remarks. Karibu sana, Daktari.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and mostly friends. I don't know everybody who's in here. As usual, there are all kinds of people, that's fine. I would say that I'm very amazed at how many people came to this conference. I mean, we did a lot of work in the background, and I want just to mention that don't take it for granted that this conference actually happens. There's been a lot of forces, moving against it, but we persevered together with the main organizers to make sure that this conference will happen, despite a lot of, as I said, pushbacks from many different quarters. And what I want to do now, and I'm really sorry that this is happening like at 2 o'clock, give my keynote. I really feel very bad to keep you from going for lunch. But I'll try to be as short as possible and just introduce the topic or the background to where we are today. Maybe just to start, what I wanted to say quickly is that the Ecological Organic Agriculture Initiative is actually an initiative which started as after a discussion in Addis Ababa where we discussed the IAASTD report, and I'm sure you all know it because you all read it, the International Assessment of Agricultural Science and Technology for Development. So you can see that we're coming we're getting there slowly, but much too slowly. So can we have the PowerPoint? Okay, here we go. So I call it the pathway to food system transformation in Africa. And again, I think it's important that we use the word transformation and not on transition or whatever some people would like to call it, because really we need a new paradigm, a new way of thinking, a new mindset in order to move forward with agriculture and the food systems. So the presentation will be sort of the what, the why, the what, the how, the who, and because we still usually have to explain why are we actually asking for a transformation and not only just sort of a little a change at the margins like it's been promoted by the major development agencies even today and also foundation. On the what, yeah, so what can we do really? How are we going to do it? And then also who, because that's usually at the end of the speech, people waiting, so okay, now, but who is going to have to do something here? And we'll talk about it. And I like Mandela's word, it always seems to be impossible until it's done. Because what we are proposing here, what you're going to discuss is actually mentioned as impossible. It will not feed the world, etc., etc. You all know the language which is used out there, basically to push us down. But again, I think we can do it. So, yeah, the food system today and future. Now, future unless we do some or make some changes. Because all what you hear about where we are going with agriculture is going on and doing the same thing. All these calculations out there about how much food, how much land and all this is, yeah, if we continue on the same old green revolution path. it is not calculated that we actually going to change, or we need to change. And I think that's an essential point. So whatever statistics you look at, be very careful, because it means going on the same path and not actually changing. And I think hopefully we're going to discuss this here in the next few days. Right, we're going to do things different, and that's why the statistics and the numbers will look different at the end of the day. So, yeah, you've seen all this bad landscape going, and again, you know, then you can look at, okay, what's in the plate? This is the plate here. Too much ugali, not enough vegetables, for example. I'm not talking about the meat, some like it, some not, but this is not the way forward, and I'll show you this because that's exactly where the problem comes from. Or this thing here. More meat than something else in there. And most people actually take all the veggies out when they eat hamburgers, you have probably noticed. They're left in the plate. Or if you go to Asia these days, everything is pre-packed. So you put some hot water in there. Now, this is the way people sort of, or we are pushed by the business world to eat our food. And because of that, the agriculture behind it looks like the slides I showed you before. More land or more forests in the tropical areas for palm oil. More rapeseed, as far as you can see. Go to Europe in the spring now. I mean, it's all yellow. That's it. Don't see anything else. Or you can go in many places in the US, even so Europe also. Maize, as far as you can see. This sort of maisification of the world, with one of the lousiest human food you can think of, maize, from the content. So he says that in a country where people eat ugali so much, but again, as you all know, it's actually not that healthy. It's good as a part of the menu, but not majority in the plate. The same for us with potatoes or somewhere else, whatever people use as a staple, could even rice. So, what's the problem with this agriculture? The problem is that actually we're shooting ourselves in the foot by producing more than half of the greenhouse gases which are actually killing us. So, you know, so you're going in a circle and we go further down, down, down. Digging our hole, as I heard before, yes, we're digging the hole deeper. It's going to be harder to get out unless we stop digging and go in the wrong direction. You know all the numbers. I'm not going to the details because of time. And because of all these greenhouse gases and because of the bad use of natural resources, we have reached planetary boundaries in many areas. And agriculture, those black dots there and the green, that's agriculture's contribution to these boundaries, to meeting them and going beyond. That system cannot go on. We've been saying this now for a while. The IASTD report put it down in 2,000 pages, but also in 10 pages for the policymakers, that we need something different. Well, we're still doing the same thing. So you know, we have to come to our senses very quickly, because, as you know, in many places, Canadian Parliament yesterday declared a climate emergency. Last week it was in the UK. When is it going to be in other countries? The kids are now in the street protesting, saying, hey, what are you doing, you guys, with our future? That's what we're doing. We're still not correcting almost anything. Why? Oh, we can't afford it. We cannot afford to do nothing. That's what we cannot afford. And yeah, so because we depend on these ecosystem services, nature has given us all what we need to survive. But as Gandhi said, there's enough for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed. And again, another part of the problem we've got. And you know, we're going to talk about pollination. Pollinators is a very important issue. Billions worth. Not the best stuff in your plate is there because there are bees around. Those bees and the wild bees. All the other food we have, the starch and that, we don't need bees for that. But that's not the food we need, really, to have a healthy diet. So what happens? There's a report, the IPBES report, that came out a few weeks ago. Again, ignored in the news, mostly. When again, he pulled the alarm, say, hey, what's going on here? We got to do something. There's many other things in the news all the time. So just to say, you know, what is more important for us right now than to preserve the biodiversity which nourishes us, nourishes the planet, the people, the animals? Nothing is more important. So when are we going to do something about it? I know I'm probably talking to most of the converts here. Again, I don't know exactly who everybody is. But you know, we have to carry this message home to the families and beyond. If we don't do it, don't wait for the media to do it. I'm sorry. They're not. And why? Ah, have you seen who owns the media? Who owns the newspapers? You can go talk against those people who actually want to make money on your back because they won't print it. If they print it, they will be shut down. I mean, so we have to understand that. So we have to pass this message down from person to person. That's how it's going to happen. And it's happening somehow, but not fast enough. This picture, probably seen it before. Again, you know, we are degrading our soils at a rate which is just unbelievable. Actually, we should be, according to SDGs, you know, have a land degradation neutral. I mean, what a stupid number. Neutral? No, we need to rehabilitate the soils. And we can do that. Agroecology, for example. We don't have to actually say we don't have a good land. No, we can rehabilitate it very quickly using those practices we know. Now this picture here, I mean, I'm divided to show it to you because you see people say, all right, we're going to have a problem with climate change. Yeah, sure, we're going to have a problem if we don't change what we do. And these pictures shows exactly the problem. Yes, we'll end up exactly there if we do not change the way we do agriculture and we reshape our food system because it's connected. You cannot separate these things because what we eat dictate what farmers will produce and how they will produce it. Has to be understood. But so again, if we don't act on the transformation, you can see where we're going to end up. Not very good, right? And there's I found this little thing. Africa, we know, will cease to exist by 2050, and this is by the Sudanese ambassador to the UN. 2050. Yeah, well, that's not far away, right? Many of you will see it. I won't. But I think we should start to really be concerned. But really concerned. And go to our policymakers. Now, we'll hear more about this. We heard some numbers this morning already about, you know, the chemistry we use, how much damage this makes. It is huge, right? Huge. And I don't know about Africa, although the consumption of pesticides in Africa is low. But what is it? Total per acre? Aha, then we have to start to think about, okay? We can talk about this later. I don't want to, this is just the health impact, okay? This human health impact across the different areas, environment, so hunger and undernutrition, diet-based, food-related diseases, and mental health. So these, the PowerPoint will be available. We can go look into more detail as you want to, but these are latest development. And you can see how huge the impact is. How many boxes do we have there? We cannot continue to actually affect our health by the agriculture we do. So again, we need to change. Now, actually, how do we create these programs? How? Where is it coming from? Well, it's coming from that business only, money is running the show. Because what happened, below there, what the red line crossed already, these are the ecosystem services. Could be pollination, could be natural pest control, water cycling, and nutrient cycling in the soil. That's given. If you don't mess about with it, it's there. So how do we actually make it even better? What we have done, also the farmers there, right? Smallholder farmers, we have replaced all this because, hey man, you can't make money with any of that stuff, right? So let's make money. Let's sell fertilizer. Let's sell more seeds, hybrid, GMOs. Let's sell more pesticides. So we can replace, do irrigation. We can do almost everything by replacing it with something where some people make money. So we have to say, no. We want our ecosystem services back. And that's agroecology again. That's exactly where we come from and where we need to go. So how should we move forward? Well, I'm like a broken record, okay, for the people who have been following me around. I always come back with this thing here because that actually was the game-changing report, the first report, global and regional, on agriculture. And I had the honor to be with your former cabinet secretary, Professor Judy Wakungu, co-chair of this report. 2,000 pages, in great detail, okay, what is the problem and what we need to do to get out of it. Business as usual is not an option, and we said that agroecology, organic agriculture, is the way forward. In 2009, that report, commissioned by 6 UN agencies, including FAO, who never actually officially presented to their people, to the member country. It was never officially recognized at the FAO until today. Just to say, and that's not the only organization, there are others which put it under the table. But thanks to many of you NGOs, it lived, and it's actually sort of getting somewhere these days in terms of implementation. So it asks for a system change. Not only changing a little bit something which is still reductionist, like climate-smart agriculture, sustainable intensification. I mean, all that stuff is elements out of what we need to do. And we cannot do that. This is co-opting agroecology and making it a green evolution 2, 3, 4, 5.0, okay? No. And, sorry. And so what we need to be systemic. I heard that before already. Don't go into details here. I just show that it's a system. Everything is connected. If you do something here, something will happen over there, even behind where you don't think it's going to happen. It will. It's happening right now. Think about the planetary boundaries. Things are happening nobody would ever thought would happen, but they're there. So again, just to say that that's what we need. And so we cannot, and there's a good report of IDRI, just came out about 3 months ago, about Europe. Europe can nourish itself with agroecology. But, there's a little but somewhere. We cannot do it with the same diet as we have now. A diet which is actually killing us, right? Look at the health bills everywhere. So what we need to do, we need to change our food, a diet pyramid from what it is there on the right-hand side, a lot of meat and dairy and all this, to the left-hand side one where we do reduce our meat and milk product consumption for more greens. And if you do that, then you actually would change your agriculture from the dirty agriculture there on the left to a clean, organic, agroecological agriculture, which stops the emissions of CO2. It is neutral and actually positive. It can take down from the carbon load we have put up there. Not only can be neutral, but we can take down, okay? So that's important to know. And for that, there's actually, again, last week, you see things are happening slowly. A new plant of 1 trillion tons of carbon dioxide. And finally, I've been waiting for this, somebody out there decided, yes, agriculture can actually do it. And agriculture is the only one can do it. And agriculture, I mean agroecology, not anything of CSA or whatever name it, a type of agriculture. No, agroecology, because agroecology is the system. And farmers cannot do the right thing unless the people, the consumer, do the right thing. So you can see, you know, this systemic, but finally it's there. So where is agroecology? You know, people talk about definitions. There's many out there. I've 70 definitions or something like that you can find. But you know, where does it place itself in the bigger picture of the different agriculture? So I think, you know, it's sort of agroecology is above, more inclusive than the permaculture, than organic. Ecological agriculture, again, is very much part of or fits inside the agroecology idea and practice. So to me, agroecology, to many, it's a science. It is science-based, very important. It is the practice, and it is a movement. And that's what most people out there don't like, that this is the movement. Because if agroecology gets really implemented the way we think it should be, there will be winners, a lot of them, and there'll be some losers, so be it. You can't make an omelette without breaking an egg. Okay? And that is to be clear. And we have to be clear. But people have a choice out there. They can change, they can do something different. The example I like to use is that when people invented the diesel engine, what happened to the guys making steam engines? Well, either they disappeared or they started to make diesel engines. All right. That's my message to the people out there, agribusiness, who say, no, we cannot do it, or we're going to lose jobs, or the world's going to end, people will die, all this. Nobody will die, I guarantee you. Actually, we'll be better off. And also, we have, FAO has come out with the 10 elements of agroecology. I'm sure there will be more discussion later on, but it's important that agroecology is all of this. It is not 1, 2, or 3, and then you go do it. No. You have to do it as a system. It fits together into one. And if people don't understand that, then sorry, I don't think we're going to move. So people and you may be working in one or more of these. Yes, some work totally integrated, but you have to work in teams so that the team actually covers again the ground of those 10 elements. If not, we are out of tune, out of sync with what we need to do. And I'm also a member, actually, of the IPES Food, the International Panel of Experts in Food Systems. And we came out with a novel report. Émile Frison is around. I'm not sure where he is, but he will probably talk about this a bit more. I won't take much time, but basically, again, 10 years after the ISTD report, IPES Food published a report From Uniformity to Diversity. If you don't know it, go download it. And there, again, we say that both subsistence agriculture as well as industrial and conventional need to move to agroecological practices. Everything. We need to move. That's a very important component. And why? Because we want more diversity. A diverse system is resilient, and what we need now is more resilience, because we already screwed up the climate. To fix that will take a while. In the meantime, we can do tomorrow, we can do that. Tomorrow. We don't have to wait. We have the science ready. We have the experience out there which we can start immediately. We don't have to wait another 10 years. Sure, we need to catch up with research. And if we don't change the money flow, which we are studying right now in a study, somebody will talk about it later, between Switzerland and Kenya, for example, you have to understand where is the money going, from whom does it come, where does it go? More than 95% of the money today in agri-research and development go into green revolution type research and extension. So how the hell do you think we're going to change? We need to change also our institutions. The CalRO here, the whatever, the regional research, CGIR, I don't have no hope, because they are entrenched in the green revolution. There's no way to get them out of there, I think. But I think with the national, the regional, we can work. And that's where the money has to go. No donor should give any penny to agri-research if it's not for agroecological practices. Bottom line. We have now, the last 60 years, put more than 95% of our money into a losing proposition. So time is over. And if people don't understand this, then I don't know. Then we better start to dig our grave even faster. I'm sorry. So again, diversity, we need more of it. And again, yesterday I got hold of this paper, it just came out. This is the role, how biodiversity benefits. So high crop diversity, so you can see, so you have more jobs. Where is the government people here? Do you want more jobs in Kenya? And that's the direction to go. Increase employment. And also for machinery, you see, so you develop basically the economy in a multifaceted way. And that's where we have to go. And I'm glad that our good friend Garibaldi came out with this thing, because go find the paper, fantastic. Finally, somebody came and put the numbers on this. So here we have it. These are arguments to change the policy, because if we don't change the policy, we can do a lot of research, talking many conferences, nothing will happen. That has to end up in policy. And that's what I hope, that at this meeting, at the end, by Thursday evening, we have a short document which we can go and hang on the door of the ministers of agriculture, science and technology, environment, and say, hey, this is what is needed now, not tomorrow. And why? Okay, we can then refer to Annex 1, 2, 3 of what has been discussed here in this conference. Now, a few weeks ago, in a paper, this came out. Oh, sorry, exporter l'agriculture en Afrique est immoral. So to export agroecology from Europe to Africa is immoral. Actually, in the article, it says it's criminal. Yeah, this is published in a paper in West Africa. All right. The author is from Luxembourg. Now, we have to start to understand something here. If conventional agriculture is 100% in terms of production, I know there's many other things than production, but let's just do that, okay? In organic, in industrialized countries, it's a bit less. Now, what does that matter when we produce 30–40% too much, which is wasted, right? Or used for energy production? Total nonsense. We know that. Okay. But in developing countries, when you go organic agroecological, you actually have more yield than your average system. And this is what never enters the statistics. Okay? This is very important. If you look at the numbers, this is critical. And we have data. I mean, DCP used to be there, and so we have a lot of good information about how, with agroecology, you move up, double, treble, quadruple. You hear more in a few days, also here, or even today, on how this can be done. It is the reality. So I think we have to start to look at the numbers, the real numbers, not made up stuff which fits only a few agendas. Now, why is it not happening too much? Because vested interest. The concentration of power, another IPS food report, actually in this report I just mentioned before, okay, what are the blockages? Why are we not moving? Well, because the power is concentrated, and that's the money flow I talked about before. But because we are in a system which is very entrenched, where there's a lot of money. I mean, the whole food system is huge in terms of how many billion, right? We know that. And so if you go start to change things around, people will start to say, no, we cannot do that, this and that. So it's very strong. And again, I suggest you read this report with all the details in this one. Now, in the meantime, yeah, people are doing things. Okay, so for example, by Vision Africa Trust, EO initiative of the African Union, and somebody mentioned, yes, the heads of states have signed this piece of paper. So now why don't you from the different countries go and tell your Minister of Agriculture, yeah, but your president signed that piece of paper. Now you will put your money into changing the research agenda. Extension. So if you don't do that, nothing will happen, okay? FAO has started the Scaling Up Agroecology program. Very good, because finally things are moving also within FAO. I hope they will continue with the new Director General, but I'm not sure that looks very good at the moment. And then we have IPS Food, number of initiatives there also to promote agroecology in West Africa, for example. But what's also important here, we have to work together. Not just, everyone in their little corner doing good work. We need to create the synergies between these things. We need to appear like one voice. Although we have very different approaches, doesn't matter. We want one thing, agroecology, future of food systems. So again, from problems, basically going over to the solutions. Again, we know the problem, we discussed long enough. The solutions, we have many. We need more science, yes. We need more diffusion, more extension, get the people more involved from production to consumption and back, yes. And also, what we have now? We have the universally agreed framework, SDGs. We can also go to our government and say, hey, you committed to SDGs, every one of them. Zero hunger. So how are we going to do that? The old-fashioned way. He can't. That's why we have 800 million hungry people. Africa. So I just did the math before because I had an idea. Oh, I need to find out. So Africa spends 35 billion importing food every year. And you have 33 million farmers, $1,000 a farmer. Okay, give the money to them, and they will produce more food than actually is needed. You know, zero import. But that would create problems somewhere in Canada, probably in the US, in Europe. So be it. They can afford it. Africa can't. It's bleeding money out of this continent when actually you can do it. And we know, because I've been around here long enough, 40 years or 30 years of Africa, I know what can be done here. It can. So why don't we go and let's do it? And when we play this out in a scenario with agroecology, we can show that by 2030, if you use agroecology, you can emit, the number exactly here, in average 34% of all the SDGs. If you carry this out to 2050, it goes over 50%, just by agroecological practices. Complex simulation behind this. This is an amazing number. So what are we waiting for? Governments have to go to New York, report on their progress. But if they would do agroecology, they could report progress in every one of those goals. Now, what are we waiting for? So, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you. Huh? But I think they finished laughing somehow. They're fighting now. And I know they're fighting, because the fact that this thing happens here is because we fought back, and then we win all together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In the interest of time, I just want to thank you once again. I've been your MC, Norman Mudibo. I would like to take this opportunity and invite Sylvia. Sylvia.
Wow, was that a keynote or what? Can we appreciate Dr. Herron again? Thank you so much. All I can say is that you came prepared. You came prepared, and I think everybody has benefited from that. One of the things I really liked is that quote that you gave us, business as usual is not an option. And I hope this is going to be the mantra for this conference, and that at the end of the day, we're going to take what Dr. Herron said, that we should come up with some real actionable ideas from this conference that can be taken forward. So I want to say that we are running very, very late. Some of you, I know you're used to having lunch at 12:30. Your stomachs are wandering. Yes, so we want to make it food time. So I just want to tell you how we're going to eat. But before I say that, I want to say that can we try to be back here at 3 o'clock? Because we are really running back on time. What we tried to do in a very clever way was combine 2 sessions, if you noted, so that we can go straight to the EOA breakouts, plenary session. So if you can be back here at 3 o'clock, we're going to be starting with the EOA plenary session. So for lunch, I want to tell the people on the table, they are my guests, plus the people on this front row. You will follow me, you'll follow the leader. And for the rest of us, we will go out through those back doors. This door is not going to be open. You go back through those back doors. And as you go out, you'll see some pretty ladies. They will give you some vouchers for you to use as you go for lunch. I want to remind you that this afternoon we have breakout sessions. And like I said, we'll have 2 in this room and 2 in 2 rooms that are up. You will just follow the steps. If you are lost, please notice anybody in an Elea Africa t-shirt. My company is called Elea Africa. Just ask them to take you, not to direct you, to take you where you ought to be. So I want to really thank Dr. Herron once again. Can we give him another round of applause? I also want to thank our panel, particularly Madam from the ministry. Thank you so much for stepping in and making sure that our day was complete. We really appreciate the message from the CS, and please take our greetings back. Much appreciated. So guys, it's lunchtime. Enjoy. a Kenyan meal. God bless you.